This is the first video in a series on how to play football. As you can probably already tell, we're talking about American football here. Sometimes it's called gridiron football and not association football or soccer. So if you know nothing about American football, you're in the right place. So this is football. And so we're just going to start with the very basics in this video, and we're going to take a look at the field itself. What do all these lines and markings mean, and numbers mean? So we're going to break it down and explain all that in this video. So the first thing you'll notice is that there's all these little lines on the field, and so these are each 3 feet apart, and so each one is called a yard line because 3 feet, obviously 1 yard. And so from this line here to this line here, this distance here is going to be 100 yards. So this is 100 yards. And so typically you'll hear people say that the length of a football field is 100 yards. And so that's all this distance in here. You can kind of see in the middle here that is divided in half by the 50-yard line, and so each of these numbers on the field represents the number of yards, and so it kind of is counting down. It starts in the middle with the 50, and then 40, 30, 20, 10, and then obviously the same thing on both sides. You can probably tell by now that each side of the field is identical. So that we start in the middle with the 50, and then the 40-yard line, the 30-yard line, 20-yard line, the 10-yard line, and what all this is counting down to is the 2 lines on both sides here, and these are called goal lines. So this line right here, this gray one, and then this gray one here, these are called goal lines. Well, each one is just one goal line. And so what the goal line does is it serves as the separation between the rest of the field and then these 2 unmarked areas on either side. And so these areas here, this one over here, and then everything inside here, these are called the end zones. So the end zone. So then we have another end zone over here. So the distance of the end zone, we saw this is the field itself was 100 yards. The end zone, actually it's to the white line there. This distance here will be 10 yards. 10 yards. And then the same thing on the other side. So we can see the total distance is actually 120 yards with the 10-yard end zones on each side. And then of course we have the width of the field. So from this sideline here, this line that goes up the side, and then this line there, these are both called the sidelines. And in football, these sidelines are out of bounds. So if you step on the sideline, you're considered out of bounds, which obviously same as in some sports, different in other sports. Football, the line is out of bounds. And so the 2 sidelines are 160 feet apart. 60 feet. So that's about 53 yards. And so they're about obviously the field is about half. Fit this in here. It's about half of the width as it is long, or long as it is wide, whichever way you're looking at it. And so those are all that's the basic rundown of the football field and how it is laid out. One term you might hear, it's really nothing special as far as markings on the field or anything like that, but anything inside the 20-yard line. So from the 20-yard line to the goal line, and then of course the same thing on the other side is this area here. these are it's sometimes called the red zone, and that is basically just signaling that the team, as we'll see, when you have the ball and you're on offense and your goal is to get the ball to the end zone, so that means the team would be going this way. So if the team has the ball inside the 20-yard line, we say they're in the red zone. It's basically just they're getting close. So of course their chances of scoring are increased when they're that close. So maybe it'll make more sense if you see a picture. So here's a photo of a typical NFL game being played. The NFL stands for the National Football League. That's the highest level of play, at least in the United States. And so you can actually see in this picture, the team up top here, these guys, they are on offense, and they're heading here down toward the end zone, which you can see is doesn't have the yard lines. Here's the yard lines and the 10 and the 20 and the 30. So then the end zone is kind of decorated and usually in whatever the home team's colors are. And then you can see the sidelines. Going down the sideline is the real thick one. So of course we said sideline is out of bounds, so they make them real thick, kind of easier to see because plays will often occur along that sideline. So the red team here that's heading toward the end zone is the offensive team, and then this team back here is on defense, and so they are, as we said, the 20-yard line is here, so they are inside. They're actually inside the red zone in this photo. So that's basically how it's set up. And then one last thing to point out, and those would be the field goal uprights. Sometimes, usually called the uprights. I guess you wouldn't call it a field goal. Field goal is what happens when you kick the ball through it. And so these uprights, the uprights are at the end, in the back of each end zone. So they would actually be located. You can kind of see the little markings here. They would be from here to here. So we'll get into the point of these. Eventually, the ball will be kicked through the uprights. So if the ball does go between the uprights, then that will be mean points for the team who kicked it. So that's the basic overview and layout of a football field. And so in the next video, we'll start getting into how does this whole game work. So we'll see you then. Unlike baseball, which is the last sport that we looked at, football is a timed game. There is a clock, and so the winner of the game is the team that has the most points when time expires. So then naturally the next question would be, well, how do I score points? And how do I win the game? So let's take a look at how you score points in this video. So the first way, probably the most common way to score, is what is called a touchdown. And a touchdown is worth 6 points, and that is the most points that you can receive at any one time for any one score. So if you remember that from the field from the first video, and this area here, the unmarked area on both sides, are called the end zone, and the end zone separated from the rest of the field by the goal line. So if your team is on offense and you drive down the field, and of course we'll talk about the specifics of how to move the ball down the field in later videos, but if you do drive the ball down the field and you get the ball on or over the goal line into the end zone, that means your team has scored a touchdown, and so you would then receive 6 points. After you score that touchdown, what you then get is a decision that you have to make, and so you can either do one of two things. The first thing is called attempt an extra point, and the other thing that you can try to do is attempt a 2-point conversion. Usually teams will go for the extra point. What happens to get an extra point, the ball your team kind of, after the touchdown, you kind of get a free play. So the ball will be placed on the 2-yard line. That's why this extra white line in the middle is here. So the ball is placed there on the 2-yard line. The offense somebody will snap the ball back, and a kicker will attempt to kick the ball, through those uprights. And being that you're so close, there's a high chance of you making that kicking the ball through the uprights, and getting that 1 point. So most teams will generally elect to go for that extra point. The other option you have would be to go for the 2-point conversion. You probably guessed by now that the 2-point conversion is worth 2 points. So again, this is the kind of a free play after the touchdown. If you decide not to do the extra point, you'll still put the ball on the 2-yard line, and then you have the option to try to get the ball into the end zone again. And so you can either run it in or pass it, throw it through the air, and catch it in the end zone. If that is successful, then you get 2 points. So you might wonder, why do teams try to do this all the time? It's only 2 yards, which yes it is, but you only get one chance to do it. And of course you have the defense there trying to stop you. So that is generally why teams will stick to the extra point. The second most popular way to score would be something called a field goal. And a field goal would be worth 3 points. So a field goal is kind of like an extra point, and we'll look at the whole procedures on how to kick the ball, both in kickoffs and field goals. But for a field goal, it's kind of like the extra point, only instead of kicking it starting at the 2, you can kick it from wherever the ball happens to be. So your team will be moving down the field, and of course you are limited in the number of opportunities you have to move the ball, progress it to the end zone. So let's say you're stopped, maybe you get down to the 20-yard line, and your team decides, okay, I want to kick a field goal. Again, they would snap it back. The holder would hold the ball on the ground, and then the kicker would again, of course, try to kick that through the uprights. If the ball does go through the uprights, the field goal is good. Your team gets 3 points, although there's no extra point or 2-point conversion after field goal. Those are only after the touchdown. So if it goes in, if the field goal is good, your team gets 3 points. If you miss it, though, then the other team would get the ball starting on the 20-yard line, and then they would go back, go in the opposite direction, try to score a touchdown on the other end. So there is some risk involved there. Lastly, the final way to look at how to score is something called the safety. And the safety is worth 2 points. And so these first two, the touchdown and the field goal, those are both things that the team on offense, the team with the ball, does. That is their goal to get there. But the safety is actually points that can be scored whenever you are on defense. So let's say this team, maybe the blue team we were talking about here earlier, has the ball and somehow they're way back here on their own 2-yard line. So they're trying to go the whole way down to this end zone, and they have a long ways to go. So the ball gets into play. Maybe the quarterback drops back. We'll get into all the positions in the next video, but the quarterback now drops back, and then the defensive team comes in and they tackle him, or they stop him in his own end zone, in the offense's own end zone back here. And if that would occur, then the defensive team would receive those 2 points. So those are the ways that you can score points in football.
United States of America. For Wilson.
Van a tardar más de 3 segundos en separar. Lleva la cuenta.
First down, official sponsor. China, number 52, Xian Rebate. Vamos a aplauso con una clap for the player of China, Xian. Entrega el reconocimiento licenciado Oscar López, testigo GAE Nacional del Sistema Tecnológico de Monterrey y director general del comité organizador del Mundial. Ganado, the MVP of United States of America, number 33, Chad McCain.